Well, he looks like a pretty sound figure.
Welcome to Autobot Arcade.
Hey guys, welcome back to the channel. Autobot Arcade here with your home for everything Transformers. And today we're going to be taking a look at the Transformers Studio Series Leader Class G1 Soundwave. But before we do, don't forget to follow us on Instagram and Facebook at Autobot Arcade and Autobot Arcade Reviews. And without further ado, let's get into this review. And here he is out of the box. But before we take a closer look at him, who is G1 Soundwave?
Soundwave is introduced as a calculating and highly intelligent Decepticon who transforms into a micro-cassette player. Known for his calm, emotionless demeanor and reliance on surveillance and espionage rather than direct combat, he serves as the Decepticon's primary communications officer and intelligence agent. His iconic monotone voice and unwavering loyalty make him one of Megatron's most trusted subordinates, often gathering information and monitoring both allies and enemies. Soundwave also deploys a team of cassette minions such as Laserbeak and Ravage to carry out reconnaissance and infiltration missions, reinforcing his role as the Decepticon's master of espionage.
But now, here's the figure in all of his glory. And moving in for a closer look at him, and he looks great. He's mainly this dark blue colour, but he does have some lighter grey paint as well. He's very clean all the way around, including the backside of him. However, my main issue in this form is that he has the play, fast forward and rewind buttons on both the front and the back. We have the more stylized ones on the front for his robot mode, but then we still have the alt mode cassette player ones on the back, which I wish could have been hidden a bit better. We also have some yellow and red highlights all throughout, which look really nice, and a Decepticon logo right in the center of his chest. Up the top we have this button, which will release his chest to reveal some nice details on the inside, but we'll take a close look at that with the cassettes later. This guy is pretty much filled in all the way around. The sides of the legs, the back of the legs, and even the sides of the arms. Where there's usually the hole for the hand to go in transformation, there is a panel that slides in to fill it in, which is awesome. One thing I do really like about this guy is how they've gone with a much smoother texture on him. Now don't get me wrong, I do like the sculpted texture and greebling. It breaks up the smoothness, but at the same time I do want more accurate figures, and this with the smoothness looks like he's been ripped right out of the cartoon. And then just moving in for a close look at the head, and it looks amazing. Very accurate. It's mainly blue, but it does have some greyish paint or plastic on the front and some nice red for the eyes. He does look like quite a menacing character. He's got the V shape on the front and the spiky horns on the sides as well, which look awesome. Inside of the box, as with all Transformers, he comes with the instruction manual. And as for accessories, we get these things. Starting off with this thing, we have his over-the-shoulder cannon, done in this nice dark blue plastic to match the rest of him, but there is some nice red for the missile tips and for the ring around the barrel. We have a slot and a port for attaching to his shoulder and for attaching into his alt mode, and there is some nice detailing all throughout. Next up we have a similar but also different cannon. This is his hand cannon, done in the same blue plastic. The handle is slightly different, but it does still have that red rim around the barrel, and they do look almost identical. The one major difference being that if you push on this, then the head of his handgun does come out, and it does look really nice, and it seems to be painted in silver. Then after that, we get all three of these cassettes: Ravage, Laserbeak, and Buzzsaw. Buzzsaw and Laserbeak are exactly the same, except one is done in this nice bright yellow. We can see on the other side the little holes for the cassettes, which is nice. I do think that they have quite a lot of gaps on them. The Ravage, I would say, is probably the worst. in cassette mode, but they do all have quite a few gaps, and I think that some of the ones we've had in the past have looked a lot better. And Laserbeak is, as I said, exactly the same, just in red on all the sides, exactly the same, even the sculpting is the same. We can transform it really quickly and easily, and he does look really accurate in this mode compared to what he looks like on the screen. It even has yellow for the eyes, they didn't miss out there. There is this hole in the back of him though, and that can be filled by taking one of these, just done in this light grey plastic, but it does look really nice. And this has got his like thrusters and guns on it and whatnot, and these two mini tabs will go into these two mini ports, and that does sort of fill out a lot of the hole in the back and does make him look that little bit more accurate, which is nice. And doing the same for Laserbeak as well, you can see they are quite literally exactly the same, just different colors. The final cassette is Ravage, and yeah, he looks a bit of a mess in my opinion in cassette mode. Lots of gaps, lots of like, you can tell that this is a leg and this is a leg and whatnot, but me personally, I'm probably just going to keep him in his animal form rather than in this form. But he does have some nice silver on the sides of the legs with Decepticon logos inside of them as well. And for transformation, really simple. I don't think he looks terrible in this mode. I do think that it could have been a bit better, but I don't think it's terrible. But he is missing a lot of the back section, and that's where this comes in. His tail and his missile pods. And this thing isn't the easiest thing to tab in. You have to take that slot and put it into that hole right there, just like so. But actually getting it in there isn't the easiest. There we go. And with that, he does look a lot more filled in, but it is just a single point of posing for the tail. But the missile pods are in silver and look quite nice. Bringing in his shoulder cannon, it will just tab onto his shoulder like so. And then bringing in his gun, it will just go into his hand. As for his minions, we can bring them in, and taking Buzzsaw, we can open up his chest and just slide him right on in there, so it does fit in. And then the other two can just come and stand around beside him. For articulation, the head can spin all the way around, as well as looking up and down and tilting slightly. The arms can come out this far. There is a butterfly joint. The arms can spin all the way around. There is a swivel at the upper arm, as well as a bend at the elbow. We can swivel at the wrist, and he does have some finger articulation as well. The waist can spin all the way around. The legs can kick out this far. If we move these skirt pieces out of the way, they can kick back this far and forwards this far. There is a spin at the upper leg and a nice bend at the knee, and then we have a swivel and a hinge at the ankle, and there is some slight forwards and backwards tilting as well. For some robot mode size comparisons, here he is next to the Transformers Rise of the Beast Bumblebee, the Transformers Rise of the Beast Optimus Prime, the Gamer Edition Ratchet, the G1 Commander Class Optimus Prime, and I just have to say it looks really nice to have these really accurate G1 characters all stood on the shelf next to each other, the New Age Optimus Prime, the Marvel Legends Sam Wilson Captain America, and finally the Star Wars Black Series Shaq-T. But without further ado, let's get into the transformation. here he is in alt mode, and I have to say he does actually look pretty good as the cassette player. He is still a bit bulky around the back. You can see his arms just hanging out the back there, but especially from the front he does look great. I think the best cassette player form that we have seen in figure form is probably from that Blaster figure from a while back, who also got reissued in the Studio series, and he's just clean all the way around, and I do think it would be quite difficult to try and replicate that again, but I do wish that this could have been slightly better with less of the arms hanging out the back and a bit more streamlined like that figure. As you can see from robot mode, the chest does carry through to the center of the cassette player, being the section that holds the cassette tapes, which does look really cool, and there is some nice detail inside of it as well. And then we have the silver on either side and the play and forward and rewind buttons down the bottom. Moving in for a close look and just taking a closer look at those silver highlights down the bottom and on the sides, they do look really nice, and the play button does actually have a sculpted play word on it. We have some nice yellow for the border around the tape holder bit. The only issue I have with this guy, other than the fact that he is quite thick, is there is some gaps down here. Now they do sort of get filled in by his weapons, which we'll see in a minute, becoming the batteries, but this bottom gap right here is still quite exposed, and you can see the alternate buttons that become his front skirt in robot mode, which is a little bit annoying. We can bring in the two gun accessories and open up these flaps on the back, and they will just slot in on either side like so, and act as the sort of batteries for the cassette player. Looking on the top, we still have access to that button, which will open up the chest, and we can bring in any of the three cassette tapes and plug them in just like so, and it will close up and looks pretty good. My other thing to say here is that only one of them can fit in and the other two don't really go anywhere, and all of the accessories for the cassette tapes when they're in robot mode don't actually store anywhere in their alt modes, so you do just have a load of loose pieces, which is a bit annoying and could potentially get lost. For some vehicle mode size comparisons, here he is next to the Transformers Rise of the Beast Bumblebee, and of course he is a bit oversized. It would have been cooler to see a smaller version of him, just like what we saw with the gun for Megatron, but we got plenty of other accessories with him anyway, so it doesn't really matter too much. The Rise of the Beast Optimus Prime, the Gamer Edition Ratchet, the G1 Commander Class Optimus Prime, the New Age Optimus Prime, the Marvel Legends Sam Wilson Captain America, and finally the Star Wars Black Series Shaq-T. And that's a wrap on our review of the Transformers Studio Series G1 Soundwave. A good looking figure and a great addition to the new Decepticon lineup. But if you do already have that previous Soundwave figure, I'm not necessarily sure whether this is an instant pickup. Maybe when it comes down in price a bit, as it doesn't really improve on too much, it's just a bit cleaner and a bit more G1 accurate. But if you're okay with the greebling on him, then I would say stick with your previous version until this one comes down in price. But with that said, before Soundwave dials up the volume and blasts us away, don't forget to hit that thumbs up, click the subscribe button if you enjoyed the video and you want to see more Transformers reviews, and if you did enjoy the video, why not leave a comment down below and tell me what you think of this guy and whether you think he's an improvement. And until next time, transform and roll out.